On the 9th of November, we went into a Mercury retrograde, and this is the last retrograde of the year. And this message is for you. Spirit has called me to give you this message because it's been really apparent in the people that I'm working with in therapy, the people that I'm working with in my courses, that this is what's coming up in this retrograde. Triggers are your portals to healing. And what I mean by that, triggers and repetitive cycles that you are in are portals to look deeper into your healing. As humans, we want to cognitively make sense of everything. And when a trigger happens, we just try and bypass it, suppress it, get through it, run from it, or end up in it, feeling shame from it. Triggers are energetic residue from past experiences. And those past experiences aren't always in this lifetime. Majority of them I found are. And in this lifetime, we are actually here to heal the energetic pain that we have carried from our childhoods, from our birth parents. Quite often, sometimes we can carry triggers that our birth parents have experienced that they have passed down to us. This can really be prominent in ancestral trauma, such as when parents have been violated or had assaults, or they've had things happen to them and energetically they haven't healed it or known how to, and they've passed it down through the fear-based energetics and emotions and behaviors. But this retrograde is calling for you to start exploring, and you start one at a time. And if there's anything I've learned as a holistic therapist who really understands trauma, ancestral wounding, inner child, shadow work, and lots of other therapies to really help my clients heal, is you have to work on one trigger at a time. If you try and work on all your triggers, you're never going to be able to navigate it because they're going to be too overwhelming. There are some key aspects to working on a trigger that you have to bear in mind that not many therapists speak about, again, and I learned this myself, and this is what I teach my clients. You have to, in a trigger, understand the brain, and I say this in loads of my videos because this is a four-way therapy that I have learned, understood, and I've learned because I needed to create some form of hack for myself. And when I say hack, it doesn't mean I heal quicker, but I needed, my brain and my body wanted to find some kind of hack to, how do I really understand my healing so that I can keep using this same framework over and over again? Because your brain likes to have a framework. And if we're constantly grappling in the dark in our healing, we're going to feel very, very hit and miss in our healing. So for a trigger, for you to heal a trigger, you have to work on the part of the brain that is constantly wired in negative thought. So you have to, and there's something called confirmation bias. Your brain will always keep confirming to you old belief systems through things it sees. So if you feel angry, you'll come across lots of angry people to confirm to you there's a reason why you should be angry, because the world is shit. Confirmation bias is something that the brain relies upon to keep confirming the unconscious biases it has towards the things that really aren't actually true. For as many negative people there are, there is amazingly happy and wonderful people. And by the way, negative and happy doesn't mean wrong or right, it just means density of vibration and emotions. And you get to choose how that works for you. But healing a trigger is about assessing the brain and how the brain is constantly keeping you trapped in the loop, because you have to start rewiring the brain through not positive thought, but asking the thought if it's true. I'm going to die, my body's going, is that true? And then you have to work on the emotional self by calming the nervous system, calming the body into grounding through the root chakra. I am safe. See how I'm doing that? Using my brain. I'm about to go into anxiety. I am safe. And you really have to, and you don't have to lie to yourself and say you are safe when you're not. You actually have to bring safety into your body through your nervous system. So when you're about to get triggered and you're noticing all those sensations in your body, because that's what happens, a trigger creates an old implicit memory of sensations that makes your body, and sometimes your body flux before your brain does, and you have to learn to read the signs that your body is becoming triggered. And those signs are irritability, feelings of panic, your belly starting to feel sick, your legs starting to feel jelly, your hands starting to shake, your brain's starting to do overtime. These are all signs in your body that you're about to go into a dysregulated state, even bigger dysregulated than you probably already are. So we have the mind and the behaviour. Well, we have the mind, the emotions, and then the behaviour. The behaviour has to be, you've got to teach yourself to start sitting with the emotional self through the trigger. Start reaffirming to yourself that you're triggered because of a past experience, you know, and sometimes it's important to trace back a past experience. You could be triggered that your partner or friend doesn't listen to you or is rude to you because growing up, lots of people were rude to you. Your parents never listened to you. Your siblings always told you to shut up, and you've constantly been dismissed your whole life. So this is why inner child work can really help with triggers, because it can help you understand what did or didn't I receive in childhood, you know, and again, this is not about blaming, that has created implicit memory, emotional feelings that keep being triggered. You know, a partner being on their phone all the time, or you could be triggered into being busy all the time because when you was growing up, you was never allowed to relax. You weren't allowed lie-ins. You weren't allowed to sit around in any pajamas. You weren't allowed to relax. So therefore, now in adulthood, of course, you're not going to be able to relax. It's going to be deemed lazy because your parents would say to you, you're so lazy, get off your fucking ass and go and do something. What it's important to look at the landscape of your childhood when it comes to triggers, to be able to understand, and you won't trace them all back, but you can actually give the trigger space. So you have the brain, the emotion, and the behavior, and then the vibration. And this is the part that no one works on. And I'm like, no, we need to work on this. This changed my whole entire life when I really learned these 4 components. And I put these 4 components into everything. But vibration is doing the breath work, the visualization, meditation. You don't have to do them all, but you can find one. You know, for me, I check in on my breath regularly to make sure that I'm not shallow breathing, to make sure that I'm breathing from my belly, to make sure that my shoulders aren't tense, my chest isn't tense, my back isn't tense. Because anytime your body is in a state of tension and you don't realize it, which most people are, you're going to feel the tense in your shoulders, in your back, in your neck, because there is a major muscle at the front and at the back. So at the back of your back and at the front, you've got an armor plate of 2 muscles. They're really, really big muscles, and they are connected to your nervous system. And when your nervous system is in a constant state of dysregulation, this nervous system will contract, and this is why energy gets stored in the body from tension. And this is why progressive muscle relaxation techniques are vital to really bring the nervous system into a state of regulation and rest and digest. Because if you don't release the tense and caught emotional energy that is in your muscles, and you've only got to walk around or sit there and move your neck or move your shoulders, and if you find it stiff, oh, that's a key indicator. That is a key indicator. But for me, those 4 components of brain, emotional self, behavior, and vibration have changed the game for me, and they've changed the game for my clients. And I first started really understanding this a couple of years ago, because I was like, why when I keep trying to challenge my brain, do I still feel hijacked and I can't navigate or balance my emotions? Why does my behavior still try and hijack me? And then, you know, I already knew about vibration because I've been practicing vibration for a long time. But every time I felt like dense or sad, you know, I gave space to it, but I was like, right, okay, but I need to clear this energy. Because if you are in a house and you want to bring lots of new furniture in, you would have to clean out the old furniture. It's a given. You couldn't put new furniture in a home that has the old furniture, because where would it go? So how can you bring in clear energy of clarity when you have so much dense energy there? And equally, when you start to visualize and meditate and do some vibrational work, you take your brainwaves from beta to theta. And beta brainwaves are the densest brainwaves, and they're the brainwaves that go the fastest. They're the ones full of stress. They're the ones, and this is scientifically proven, they carry stressful residue. Your brain can never find clarity in beta brainwaves. Your brain can never think straight, can't find organization. So when you do mindfulness, which is really connecting to the breath in the moment, when you do breath work, which can be as simple as 5 seconds in of breath and 5 seconds out. And this activates the heart chakra electromagnetic field. This activates your heart chakra. So when you breathe in and you visualize your heart chakra opening, what you're doing is you're changing your brainwaves from beta to theta. And you're always going to get, because also your brain cannot keep thinking of all this negative stuff while it's breathing. Because if you're focusing on your breath, you can't focus on your thoughts. And people don't realise this, and it's a real vital thing to learn for, you know, hygiene of, and I wanted to say spiritual hygiene, but I don't even want to pin it to spiritual hygiene, because that makes people believe that, well, I'm not on a spiritual journey, so I don't need to do it. No, it's an energetic hygiene. Everyone has energy, so it's an energetic hygiene. People are bathing themselves, washing their hair, because they're really understanding that dirt and debris builds up from the environment in which you can't see, by the way. You can't see, you know, smog and fumes. You can't see what you're breathing in, but you know that your hair's going to be dirty. You know that you're going to smell. You know that your body's going to emit certain odours and sweat. And when you are coming into contact with people time and time again, and they have an energy field and they don't know what their energy field is like, you're absorbing that. It's called co-regulation. You are co-regulating and co-absorbing. So every time you meet somebody, if you think that your energy field is up to 8 feet long and somebody else's energy field is up to 8 feet long, you've only got to go into a shop and you're merging with people's energy fields. So no wonder you feel tired, you know, when people have had a long day. So you equally have to be aware of, if you're a highly sensitive person, what things are you doing that you're not being careful of in merging your energy fields? If you're around a lot of dense people daily and talking and interacting, your energy field is merging constantly, and you're not cleaning or cleansing that vibrationally. You are carrying that. You know, and I know this as a therapist, because being a spiritual healer and a coach and constantly absorbing, it was making me feel really down, and I didn't know why, and I was carrying all these people's energy. So you have to create a small, it's just like having a bath every day. You have to create a small, I can't even think of the word, a routine. You've got to create a small routine of doing some breath work and cleansing your energy, because honestly, it will change the game for you. Because most of the time, when people are feeling happy and good, and they go, oh, well, I was feeling really happy till I was around you and you just ruined my mood. Well, don't let them. You don't have to let them. You can actually learn spiritual discernment. You can learn energetic discernment, and you don't have to be the slave to everyone else's energy and it impacting you. I promise you. My husband can come home in a bad mood, and I'm no longer like, oh, you're in a bad mood, I'm sick of you being in a bad mood. I can talk to him about the fact that he's always in a bad mood. He's not anymore. But I don't have to absorb it, and I don't have to make his mood my mood. And that was a game. That's a whole other video, and I'm going to do that, because that was an absolute game changer. It was a game changer, because I just absorbed everyone's emotions. My son, my daughter, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, everyone. You know, I don't talk to my family, but I did previously, and absorbing everyone's emotions, and always blaming other people for making me moody, because I wasn't moody before and now it's your fault. Feeling unempowered because, you know, everyone else was unempowering me. But this Mercury retrograde is an energy portal for you to go inward, for you to reflect. Guys, you cannot live in false light. So if you are a person on a journey of healing, and you keep chasing the light, and you keep chasing all these wonderful things that you think are going to help heal you, but you choose to not go inward, you're going to stay stuck. And you can try and stay in that illusion for as long as you want, but it's not going to change the fact that you stay stuck. So you have two choices: keep feeding your illusion and stay stuck, or do the hard work initially, which is painful, and then you'll be aware and transmute so much. By the way, healing is not to transmute negative to positive. Healing is to become consciously aware of unconscious things. To become, that's a whole nother video, but to become consciously aware is anything that's in your unconscious, in your shadow, in your inner child wounding, will rule you. Triggers, wounding, it will rule you. It will rule your behaviours, so you have to realise that you want to bring the unconscious to conscious, because the more consciously aware you become of things, the greater your power over your own life is. But equally to understand the triggers, to understand the energetics that your body is in, is you have to teach your body to sit with the uncomfortable sensations. If you keep running and bypassing and pushing down those uncomfortable sensations that your body feels, such as the jitteriness, the sickness, this is why we do the vibration and breath work, because your body is clearly feeling unsafe, because previously it's been unsafe in these kind of confrontational connections of saying, I'm not happy with this, I'm not okay with this. And this is called embodiment. I don't see a lot of therapists teaching embodiment, or I'll see them teaching embodiment without really understanding the brain part, that you have to still challenge the thoughts, because your thoughts will always try and rule against you, and you have to have a small behaviour. You'll have to be aware of your emotional regulation. But embodiment is to start teaching your body to actually sit with the uncomfortable sensations. And you may think that your body will never ever be able to face these uncomfortable situations, and you'll equally think that these will never stop. I promise you they do. I was one of the most triggerable people you'll ever meet, and I tried to hide those triggers so much because I was so ashamed of them. Sometimes I couldn't hide them, they just come out, and I'd either shout and cry, or I would cry, or I would become a mess, or I would run off and hide. And I had to start teaching my body to really sit with that and really become aware of why is that happening. And each time I allowed my body to go, it's like an animal when it's been hit. Each time you allow that body to feel that energetics and realize that, you know, you're not going to have a panic attack, you are going to be able to protect yourself. Your body stops reacting in that way, and it's a phenomenal change that we can create in ourselves. And I work with my clients a lot with this, because this is an amazing thing to change. But remember, we are in a retrograde. This retrograde is here to help you to some degree. It doesn't feel comfortable, but it can change your life when you internally reflect. Sending you love.